Welcome to the fasting podcast, Wow, Wellness and Optimal Weight. I'm your host, Julie Phillips, certified natural health professional, bringing you episode 139, Pet Wellness and Fasting from Expert Holistic Veterinarian. My guest today is Dr. Marlene Siegel. She is not only a DVM, but I've personally worked with her for over a decade. She's also a certified natural health professional and many other designations. It started about 40 years ago after being told by equine veterinarians that there were no options to heal her horse. Dr. Siegel vowed to prove them wrong and find answers where none existed. The determination extended into her small animal practice, which is called Pasco Veterinary Medical Center in Lutz, Florida of Tampa Bay. The last 20 years of Dr. Siegel's nearly 40-year career as a veterinarian has led her to develop the widest array of alternative therapies and detoxification services in the country. A true entrepreneur determined to solve the needs that the pet world has led her to be an international speaker, including The Truth About Cancer, and an innovator in integrative veterinary medicine. She developed her own raw pet food company and supplements available to all of us. Knowing knowledge is power, she has online programs for pet parents and separate for veterinarians to teach integrative veterinary medicine. She's launching S''Pause Family Wellness in 2023, which is detox centers for pets and the pet parents. Her primary website is www.drmarlene, M-A-R-L-E-N-E, Siegel, Siegel.com. Dr. Siegel, I was alarmed at the current American Cancer Society website statistics that they estimate 1 in 2 men and 1 in 3 women will be diagnosed with cancer in their lifetime. Is that being paralleled in pets?
It's not only paralleled, it's actually worse. So the statistics 5 years ago, Julie, were that dogs' rate of cancer is 1 out of 1.65. That's nearly 100% of dogs getting cancer under the age of 2 years. And cats, they say, is 1 out of 3, but I think that's only because it's highly underreported.
Wow, that's amazing. So what do you think are the key drivers for the rising rate of cancer?
Well, I think it's very similar to what it is for humans. Number 1 is toxicity. Number 2, it's deficiencies, being that we don't have foods growing on nutrient-rich soil. So we're nutrient depleted. We have an abundance of toxins, like 85,000 toxins just since World War II, inundating our bodies. Our bodies can't get rid of that. And it all leads to mitochondrial dysfunction, which the mitochondria are what make the energy that run our body. And they're what also communicate with the microbiome to tell everybody what to turn on and what to turn off. So it's not a surprise that we're seeing these rates of cancer when we have a lack of essential nutrients, our biochemical pathways can't be functioning properly, and then we're inundated in toxins and our mitochondria are just unable to perform good function.
Are there solutions that the pet parents listening might be able to utilize, including the option of fasting for their pets?
Oh, absolutely. And I like to say that we have to call BS. And BS is not the one that you're thinking. It's actually changing our belief systems so that we start behaving in a more sustainable way. So that includes making sure that we're feeding a species appropriate diet, not that kibble that's in the grocery store that's very convenient. It's making sure our water sources are clean and we don't have tons of toxins and heavy metals coming through the water. It's making sure our environments are clean so that we don't have a lot of xenoestrogens and other toxic chemicals that are off-gassing from formaldehyde and the variety of different things that are in our standard cleaning products. We have to get back to using healthier items. And then, of course, things that we're spraying outside, air quality. The ants that live in our brain, Julie, are probably as important as everything else I just stated. And the ants in our brain are the automatic negative thoughts, because when we as pet parents have a lot of anxiety and fear and negative thoughts, we are actually creating neurochemicals that are being sent to our cells to explain to them what's going on in the outside world. and our pets entrain to all of that energy that we're creating. So if we want to have a healthier outcome, we need to have healthier thoughts.
That is excellent. Can you speak to the topic of fasting? Some of us like intermittent fasting and an occasional extended water fast. Is that appropriate ever? And if so, when for pets?
So if we look at how animals ate in the wild, they got up at dawn and they were hungry, so they hunted. And then if they were lucky and they killed something, they feasted and stuffed themselves as much as they could while they had the opportunity. And then they went and digested in a safe environment, whether it's their cave or wherever they went to do their digestion. And then in the evening at dusk, they started to get hungry again. So they would be on the prowl looking for food. So right there, we have a model where animals were only eating every 12 hours. So they had an automatically built in 18 to 12 hour fast by just the fact that they had to hunt in the morning and they had to hunt at night to get their food. But in our modern world, our pet parents are filling the bowl for our cats and dogs and leaving food out 24/7. So albeit that they're eating constantly and they're eating such a high carbohydrate diet. So all kibble diets, they range anywhere from 40 to 60% carbohydrate. That's 40 to 60% sugar. So we need to look at what their species appropriate diet was. And that would have been a diet with less than 1% carbohydrates. So those two factors right there, if pet parents only fed their animals at dawn and dusk, or at least every 12 hours, that would be a huge improvement. And then if it was species appropriate, like a raw diet where the sugar content was under 1%, that would be phenomenal. Now, the one caveat that I warn people for cats is that if cats don't eat on a regular basis, and I'm not talking all day long, I'm talking they have to eat at least once every 24 hours, or they can get a disease called hepatic lipidosis. So when it comes to fasting our cats, I would be a lot more cautious to have a pet parent work with an integrated veterinarian to understand how to do fasting for a cat. But for a dog, absolutely no problem. If you're feeding every 12 hours with no snacking in between, it's easy enough just to remove one meal, and now you have a 24-hour fast. And the benefits are exactly like it is for people. With that fast, you're starting to turn on autophagy, which is the mechanism for which our bodies and our pet bodies use to clean up all the exogenous proteins, the dying cells, and to repurpose all of that so that we are far more efficient.
I love that you have the classes and the food available to people, that you've solved the issue about having so much carbohydrates in our pets' diets.
It's interesting because as we start identifying the problems, it's imperative that we have a solution. So it wasn't like I had this grandiose idea that I was going to dominate the world and solve all the problems, but as I came across those that were really huge, cancer rates, as they were rising higher and higher and higher, one of the very first things we have to do is stop doing the things that are causing the cancer. I mean, that's just such an easy concept, but that includes feeding an appropriate diet. That's huge. So I'm out there trying to talk to a variety of different pet food companies to not only make a raw diet, but to also make it clean so that it was grass-fed, grass-finished. It didn't have any synthetic vitamins and minerals added to it. And I really could not find a company who is willing to do that. So I pounded my fist on the table and I said, darn it, well, then I'm just going to make my own. And I remember doing that after speaking to a company and they blew me away. And I thought, wow, how am I going to do that? Like, I don't even know where to start. And in less than 2 weeks, I was introduced to the person who is now processing our food. And I met somebody who had done a 20-year trial on feeding species appropriate diets. And so all these people just magically or divinely showed up in my life, and we were able to launch it within 6 months. So what I did is a little different than the average food person. Is I created the macronutrients, the meat, the fat, the bone, and the organ meat. Because according to the AAFCO standards, which is the kind of non-legal governing body that decides what pet food should have in it, they require that to be sold as a complete and balanced diet, you have to add the vitamins, minerals, and fatty acids. But the problem with that is the vitamins and minerals have to be synthetic, otherwise they're degraded, and the fatty acids turn rancid if they're using a fish oil. So I didn't want that. That wasn't solving a purpose and it wasn't fixing the problem. So what I did is I made just the macronutrients, the meat, the fat, the bone, and the organ meat in the quantities and percentages that were correct. And then I added in the essential vitamins, minerals, and fatty acids. And the essential nutrients are those that the body cannot produce in sufficient quantity on its own. So we literally can create a balanced diet specific for each pet's needs and their body weight.
Excellent. Now, on your website, drmarlenesiegel, SIEGEL.com, you have links to your other topics, like the classes, like the food, etc. But if a person doesn't live in Tampa Bay, Florida, whether they're a pet owner or whether they're a veterinarian, how can people benefit from your services and knowledge?
In addition to the online courses, which is the foundation that people need to start with, is the knowledge of what do I do? And then my office and myself offers a consultation service. So we help you to implement all the things that you're learning, because it really is a lot of information. The course itself is 3 hours and it is packed. It is just me pouring out everything that I know a pet parent needs to have. So with all of that, it can become very overwhelming. And the two reasons people fail at anything, number one is a lack of knowledge. Well, we fix that. But number two is the ability to implement it. And so we are able to help pet parents break it down based on what they're already doing or what they're not doing, and help them to create a sustainable program that every week they can add a little bit more to it. So it's just little lifestyle changes, but after a couple of months, they've made dramatic differences in the health of their pets and oftentimes themselves, because they start making some improvements to the toxins in their environment, which helps them as well.
I encourage anyone who has a veterinarian who's not aware about holistic veterinary medicine to consider taking the course from Dr. Siegel, which is online. And also, if you're a pet owner or know other pet owners, please get them in touch with that. And Dr. Siegel, don't you also have a free little booklet on your website for individuals to just access from there?
I do. It's like the mini version. It's called holistichealingvet.com. So very simple, holistichealingvet.com. And they can download the free ebook, and that gives them a good outline to start to follow. But if they really want to do a deep dive into diet, digestion, detoxification, mitochondrial health, all of that, then they want to take the course, and it's really worthwhile.
Excellent. If you go to Dr. Siegel's website, you'll see some incredible services that she offers. And when I first met her over a decade ago, she was already at that time well into acupuncture, medicine, and Chinese herbs and different topics such as that, even chiropractic. The list goes on. And your vet, wherever you live, is probably never going to be into as many different things as Dr. Siegel. But I'm especially excited that in 2023, she's going to be having that family wellness, which is detox centers for both the pets and their parents. So that will be a great opportunity as well, and maybe worth a visit to Florida if you aren't already living here. So Dr. Siegel, is there anything else you'd like to add before we close the episode?
I think the one point that I really want to drive home, and we mentioned it, but I want it to be the last thing in people's thoughts, is that all dis-ease, there really is not a disease. There is dis-ease. It means the body's not in balance. And everything stems from the fact that we are either lacking in essential nutrients that our body needs to do its metabolic job, or we have an overburdened amount of toxins that are interfering with our biological processes. And that, combined with the mitochondrial dysfunction, so that we can't make the proper energy and we don't have the proper communication within our own body to be able to carry out the proper functions, that's what leads to the dis-ease. And if we can address that by simply making some simple lifestyle changes, we are helping our pets, we're helping ourselves, and we're helping the planet, because we're doing less toxic things that ultimately end up in our world. So I really encourage people to reach out. Let's connect. Let's keep our communication going. And I think we can change this whole planet around in no time at all.
Wonderful. I love it. You are amazing. And we really appreciate you taking the time to do this little episode for us. Again, the website, www.drmarlene, M-A-R-L-E-N-E, Siegel, SIEGEL.com. And you can connect with her, send her emails at that website. If you want to give feedback to me, Julie at jpwowprograms.com. Please refer others to our podcast and YouTube and give us a great review. Remember, stay positive, focused, and determined, because where the mind goes, energy flows.